Morning of August 7th, non-farm payrolls came out about 8 a.m. my time. Market's been open a little bit here, hour and a half. So I want to talk about gold. If I look back at some videos this week, when I do, I think I'll see that I targeted these two levels and we cleanly hit both of them. However, I think I got out here and didn't let it run. Worse, in this zone, I went short and lost a ton of money today, so gave that all back. So I just want to highlight that my original analysis was correct and I started futzing with it a little too much. Had I just set it and walked away, that would have been pretty tremendous. So let's get into a little bit more of what happened here. So I believe I'll have to go back and look at the tape, but I believe the double bottom, I don't know where it was on here, but here's a 240. We're shooting up. Or real quick, on the weekly, we'd seen the support range forever, and now we are engulfingly breaking out of it. On the daily, we have been in this falling wedge with massive divergence, and we ripped out of that, and we're hitting the 90% target. 240, you just see there wasn't a lot of pullback. Tiny flag here, and I think this flag is important because it's where I lost. So if I look at the 240, let's clear everything and do it right. So at the time before this flag, let's do path. We were here, boom. So you could argue whether or not this was the low or this was the low, but then boom, and now boom. So we were clearly in an uptrend. On the 60-minute, I saw these double bottoms. I believe this was the double bottom I got in at, and we pulled back to it and it ripped up. Yeah, and I put my stop right here. Actually, no, I got in at the break of this neckline, and I put my stop in here, and then we ripped up, which was great. So as you can see, just shooting up. Where I got trapped was I thought we had head and shoulders, and I held on to it. Um, I woke up and saw us break. Let's see here, 15. Where are we? Oh yeah, let's go into here. So around, boom, here, I got in, and I got in 5 without using my calculator and realized how leveraged I was. And this was like a 2 grand loss, putting my stop above this shoulder. So I spent the day yesterday kind of like, oh man, it's gonna hit. And this, I think I was already down like 1,000 here if it would have closed, just watching it eat away. And then right in this zone, somewhere in this area, somewhere in all this, I closed out 3 of the 5 to make it 2. And then if you look, we never broke below this line. And then I got in one more, so I was at 3. So I guess one minor silver lining is that I deleveraged by 40%. Kind of wishing I kept it at 60% deleverage, but 40%. And then I built another position in here somewhere and then just watched it all day, just going sideways. Now, I want to just stop and look at this and stare at this pattern because really what I think there just needs to be some time rules of like, look, you didn't break down the head and shoulders here. You came back up, that's fine. You didn't break down, and then you just milled till closing bell. Day before news. You're just milling around. Here we are at 4:30, 5 p.m. my time. So this is you're hoping we shoot down, but there's no breaks of lows. And then what I missed, which was in the chats, was this formed a double bottom. And that's where I'm kind of kicking myself pretty well here because that's everything. So I'm sitting here targeting these areas, somewhere in these areas, hoping to make the money. I miss that what we had is, and if you take these lines off now that I have documented this, yeah, that's a head and shoulders, I guess. But like, again, if we go back to this, is it, or is it just good old fashioned retracement with a double bottom formed even on the 60-minute? On the 240, like we're not seeing anything but just impulsively up with a flag and we're just milling. And so this bar would have been such an amazing trade. So I'm out here. Oh, and I also didn't have my order set well. So I was in for three. Like I said, I added that last one and I never adjusted the stop. So I got out for two somewhere, somewhere here. But then I had one creeping up and I woke up in the morning to look and I was here and I just closed it, thankfully, because then the news came out and there we are. So I'm gonna just be kind to myself. I could fall into a pit of despair and all these things, but this is part of the learning. I think in this case, that head and shoulders wasn't like a bad one to watch, and we did have it close below. I think where it really gets interesting is if we have another attempt on it and it doesn't close below, and then we just mill for hours. You just got to get out and reset. And here, either this candle here or a return back to the trend line would have been good to see that we're just going to grind up. So um, mistakes happen. Be kind to yourself. Learn, love. You can do this. But this is probably the biggest learning of the week is gold was identified correctly in the beginning of the week. My targets, which ironically would have made like a ridiculous amount of money, even with my super small bet sizing. Um, don't get anchored too much onto these like super steep trend lined head and shoulders. That's the other thing. Look at the slope of this head and shoulders, right? And it was a good one, but on the even here on the hourly, actually looking at it, we never. Well, I guess we did close below here of this mark here, so that would have been a good one. But um, found support right where I was building up my short, my long.